Angela Lopez is one of the most dynamic characters in The Rookie and has had a very extensive history since the show started all the way back in 2018. And today, I'm going to talk about one of my favorite characters and her entire story. For us to start her story, we have to go all the way back to the pilot episode where she was introduced. At this point, she is the training officer for one of the new 3 rookies, Jackson West. She has years of experience under her belt prior to the show's start, and she's trained quite a few rookies by this point, given the amount of rookies she has washed out on Plainclothes Day, which we find out in the appropriately titled episode. We'll get back to Jackson in a second. I want to talk about her before the show lore. Throughout the show, we learn about her upbringing before the show even started. She grew up with a single mom and 4 brothers, all cramped into a 2-bedroom apartment. Her father would come in and out pretending to be a dad, and Nolan clocks this in Season 1, Episode 4, The Switch.
Let me guess, your dad was MIA, show up when it's convenient, bring a toy, act like a savior?
It was a stuffed animal.
Everything that she had was handed down from one of her brothers, and her mom didn't give her the same treatment as her brothers. Not because she didn't love Lopez, but rather that her mom was confident that Lopez was able to handle her own, whereas her brothers needed more support. Given the competition she had to endure during her childhood with her brothers, she felt like she had to serve the little guy. And because of this, she joined the LAPD, wanting to put action to her words. Now that we've caught up on her lore from before the show, we can continue with what happened in the pilot. Picking up Jackson West, she had a pretty serious job, as Jackson is the son of Internal Affairs Commander Percy West. He had near-perfect marks while at the academy with big shoes to fill. However, in practice, Jackson was initially one of the worst rookies she could have gotten. When they got to their first shootout, he was frozen and couldn't fight. She had to go in all by herself because of this, and this put both her and Jackson in a lethal situation. Despite this, however, she decides to cover for him, as if he washes out in his first week, things would get complicated really fast. This ended up biting her in the ass though, as in the previously mentioned episode, The Switch, she ends up getting Nolan as her rookie for the day, and Jackson went with Tim. The exact same thing happened where Jackson froze during a shootout and put Tim in danger. This caused a massive argument between the two, and Lopez realizes that she's in hot water now. She has to see Jackson through and try to fix him, despite not wanting to, and rightfully so. Fast forward to Season 1, Episode 10, Flesh and Blood. When she and Jackson are out for lunch, a man has a lawyer's briefcase and they have to go after him. The lawyer is talking her ear off about going to get it while she said there's a procedure to follow. Eventually, they catch up to the thief and she tackles him, but not before the lawyer can continue to yap in her ear about how she's being excessively forceful and she needs to handle him better. They start to argue, getting up close to each other. What Lopez didn't know was that the lawyer she was arguing with would be her future boyfriend, then fiance, now husband, Wesley Evers, and that these 2 characters would have one of the strongest bonds for practically the entire rest of the show's run. At the end of this episode, after all of the fighting that they had throughout it, Wesley apologizes to Lopez and asks her out to dinner. Surprisingly, she accepts the apology and agrees to dinner. For the rest of Season 1, their relationship starts to blossom and they slowly fall in love. Wesley is head over heels for Lopez and is willing to provide whatever he can for her and would do anything she needs her to. And in return, Lopez protects Wesley like she's his force field. She would give her life for him, and this has literally been tested, which again, we'll get back to later in the video. We're going to skip quite through Season 2, apart from mentioning that in Season 2, Episode 16, The Overnight, Wesley proposes to Lopez and she happily accepts. We also should point out that her right-hand woman and best friend, Nyla Harper, gets introduced in this season, and since they are fellow training officers, they bond almost instantly. You will hear a lot about their pairing throughout the rest of this video. Going into Season 3, however, she gets promoted to Detective 1. This should be amazing news. And it is. However, there's one obstacle that comes up. She's pregnant. She's worried that because of the pregnancy, they won't let her prove her worth and her career will be delayed. So she has to keep it under wraps for now. Eventually, she stops trying to hide it, but initially this was a big deal to her. And then, a couple episodes later, we meet someone that's going to be Lopez's version of Caleb Wright for Lucy. Sandra de la Cruz, aka La Fiera. In Season 3, Episode 3, La Fiera, they meet while on a case involving the murder of one of La Fiera's soldiers. He was murdered by a Guatemalan cop whose children were killed in a massacre that La Fiera had started. When the cop was arrested, his partner went to Plan B, which was to target La Fiera with her son, Diego. Lopez took them to a safe place until said partner was arrested, and when he was arrested, she said to stay safe, but she would come back and arrest her if she did any crimes. La Fiera thought this was fair, and they went their own ways. But when Lopez got home, she found a gift from La Fiera, a charm to keep her unborn child safe to say thank you for keeping Diego safe. For the majority of the rest of the season, they remain on respectful terms. That is until an incident that happens involving Diego. Put a pin on that for just a second. Jackson's last day as a rookie comes up, and she decided that since they started this journey together, they should finish it together. And she becomes his training officer for his last day. He then ends the day graduated to a P2, and she's super proud of how far he came along, growing a real bond with him. She also picks Tim to be her man of honor, since they're so close and he's invested in her having the best wedding possible. But this wedding has a pin on it as well, as when La Fiera's son is killed in the Season 3 episode Braveheart, she goes out the deep end and is mad at the world around her. But Lopez blames her for her son's death, and this was the final breaking point for La Fiera. She breaks out of prison and kidnaps both Lopez and Jackson. They kill Jackson and take Lopez to Guatemala, where she's going to give birth to her baby, and then La Fiera would kill her. When Wesley and the LAPD find out about this, all of them are determined to get her back. They have no idea where she would be, and while the LAPD tried to find out on their own, Wesley takes it into his own hands by approaching Elijah Stone, another cartel leader, to ask him if he can find her. In exchange for this, Wesley has to agree to be his crooked lawyer. This ends up being Lopez's problem later. With this new information, the LAPD hop on a helicopter to Guatemala and save her. They're able to escape narrowly because Wesley induced Lopez into labor with an injection, and she's able to break free with the LAPD. On their way to the helicopter, Lopez turns back behind her and shoots and kills La Fiera, putting this entire situation to rest, or so they thought. In the background, while Lopez and Harper were going on case after case, Elijah Stone was torturing Wesley, first by having him be the crooked lawyer, and when Wesley couldn't do it, Elijah did everything he could to ruin his career, even threatening his family. But when Wesley finally told Lopez about what was going on, she was having none of it. She started getting involved in trying to bust Elijah, but with the help of his new crooked lawyer, Monica Stevens, they struggled. Wesley was disbarred and had to make a public apology, with Lopez looking defeated alongside him. She knew what she had to do for her husband. She and Harper kept tabs on him, trying to find a way to implicate him. They find out about a deal being made between him and Abril, and they jump on the opportunity to thwart him. When they catch him, he runs off, and as they go after him, he knocks down Harper and is about to kill her, until Lopez says it's her against him. They're about to start brawling, but then Harper gets back up and they take him down, to which he is then arrested and his reign ends. For now. And now it's time for her and Wesley's second child. She ends up giving birth to her in the Season 5 finale, Under Siege. And for pretty much the entirety of Season 6, it's pretty smooth sailing and status quo. She's busting crimes with Harper as a detective and is enjoying life with Wesley. But then in Season 7, Episode 4, Darkness Falling, she and Harper are on a case where multiple bodies are hidden within another serial killer's burial site. When exploring an abandoned warehouse, Harper is stabbed with a needle by an unknown person and Lopez has to save her. This person is later revealed to be Liam Glasser, who Harper and Lopez are determined to thwart. Although Lopez didn't personally get to do the thwarting, the work she did led to the takedown and arrest of Liam Glasser in Season 7, Episode 8, Wildfire. And now we jump all the way to the beginning of Season 8, in Season 8, Episode 4, Cut and Run, where Wesley tells her that he's thinking of running for district attorney. At first, she was vehemently against this plan, as that could put a spotlight on them and their kids. But after Wesley, Harper, and James all say that it would be a good idea, and that it allowed Wesley to do what he set out to do, Lopez thought about it for a while and came around. And by his side, she stood and watched him give his DA speech to the world as his campaign began. And that is where the story of Lopez is currently left off. Now, where do I think Lopez's story is gonna go within this season? Well, I can think of quite a few things that are gonna happen, and a couple are kind of connected in a way. First, I think with Elijah Stone being confirmed to come back in season 8, he's gonna come back to terrorize her and Wesley. And I think there's gonna be more of a target on her rather than Wesley this time, given she put him in prison and was going out of her way to stop his reign. I think this will then get in the way of Wesley's DA campaign, as Elijah will sabotage it and leave Lopez having to stop him in his tracks again. I also think with Liam Glasser making a return as well, he's gonna have it out for her and Harper. So now, Lopez is gonna have to be fighting two different beasts at once, and I think that will cause her to break down. And given how strong of a woman she is, she's not gonna lean on anybody for help except maybe Wesley, which will lead to her slowly deteriorating mentally. But I really hope these things happen at different times, because maybe then she'll be able to manage taking down these two monsters. Anyways, that was the entire story of Angela Lopez. Leave a comment of who you want me to make a breakdown about next, and subscribe to see more videos like this one. Thanks for watching.